Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our session today on strategies to mitigate social bias when implementing GenAI workloads. Hello, everyone. My name is Lisa Guell. I am a technical program manager in the Worldwide Specialist Organization overseeing hybrid edge, core compute, advanced compute, technical field communities. I am passionate in mentoring early career talent and proud member and officer of Day One Toastmasters. And I also enjoy driving our hire and develop the best initiatives.
And I'm Monica. I'm a security consultant at AWS and I work with global financial services.
All right, in this talk, we're going to delve into the challenges associated with Gen AI workloads and explore strategies to mitigate bias throughout the development process. Bias can manifest in various forms, either from the training data that is used to the algorithm themselves and can have consequences on individuals and communities. Social bias can also be referred to as unwanted bias. Throughout this presentation, Monica and I will discuss features such as Amazon Bedrock Guardrails, Amazon SageMaker Clarify, and SageMaker Data Wrangler, which are designed to help and identify and mitigate biases in machine learning models and data. These tools can assist to ensure that GenAI systems are fair, transparent, and also socially responsible. So one of my favorite things to do is that I am a photographer. I love creating content. And with the rise of GenAI systems, I started exploring and learned that these technologies have the ability to generate human-like text images, just like the photos that I shoot on my Fuji X-Film 2. They even have audio and even code, and this has opened up new possibilities across various industries. We are going to explore the rise of generative AI systems, their applications, implications, and also future development, and providing insights into how this field is evolving. Here is how our generative AI system offerings come together. We have Amazon Bedrock, which is one of the easiest way to build and scale generative AI applications with foundational models, either from A12 Labs, Anthropic, Stability AI, and also Amazon Titan and Amazon Bedrock. We also have services that are built in within generative AI, such as Amazon Q, which is an AI coding companion that helps you build applications faster and more securely. So let's dive into social bias. How many of here have ever experienced social bias? The story of my life. So social bias can be defined as either the discrimination for or against a person or group or a set of ideas and their beliefs in a way that is not fair. And when we think of generative AI systems such as language model and image generators, they have shown remarkable capabilities in creating human-like content. However, these systems can inherit and amplify social biases which can be present in the training data, and this can lead to bias and potentially harmful outputs. So I'm going to dive into 3 types of biases. Our first one here is sample bias, and in this, generative AI systems can occur when the training data that is used to develop the model is not a representative of the diverse population that the AI system is trying to interact with. And again, this can lead to bias outputs that perpetuate stereotypes or discrimination against certain groups. And to mitigate sample bias, it's crucial for us to curate training data from diverse sources as well as adequate representation of different groups and also cultures and unique perspectives. The next one is historical biases, and this can manifest in generative AI systems when the training data reflects societal biases and discriminatory practices from our past. And these biases can perpetuate or amplify the AI system, which can lead to unfair or harmful outputs. And mitigating historical biases requires critical examination of the training data, as well as identifying and addressing potential biases, which can incorporate debiasing techniques during the training and deployment. And the last one that we have here is measurement bias. Now, this can arise when the evaluation metrics that's used to assess the performance of generative AI systems fail to capture important aspects of the fairness. This can lead to biased systems either being deemed successful while overlooking their potential for discrimination. And to address measurement bias, it's essential for us to develop comprehensive evaluation frameworks that also incorporate measures of fairness, accountability, and also ethical considerations. All right, next, let's dive into the impact of bias on society. So in this first slide, we have to remember that with bias, it can perpetuate either harmful stereotypes, discrimination, the spread of misinformation. Now, when it comes to reinforcing stereotypes, biases can enforce and perpetuate negative stereotypes about individuals or groups based on their race, gender, ethnicity, or even religion or other characteristics. And these stereotypes can lead to prejudice, discrimination, or continue the marginalization of certain communities. Number two, with the perpetuation of discrimination, biases can manifest in various forms of discrimination, either such as employment discrimination or housing discrimination or unequal access to education or healthcare services. And this discrimination can create systematic barriers and inequalities which can prevent individuals to participate in society. The third that we have is the spread of misinformation, right? So biases can contribute to either the spread of misinformation and the acceptance or false misleading narratives. When individuals or groups are influenced by their biases, they may be more likely to believe and share the information that aligns with either their own pre-existing beliefs, regardless of the accuracy or the credibility. And the last thing I want to summarize on is biases can lead to polarization within society by prioritizing certain perspectives while suppressing others. This can create echo chambers where individuals are exposed to a narrow range of viewpoints which can reinforce their biases, while alternative perspectives are marginalized or ignored. This polarization can either hinder constructive dialogue, compromise, or even understanding between different groups. So again, addressing and mitigating biases is very crucial for promoting equality, fostering inclusivity, and also just creating a more equitable society where all diverse perspectives are valued and respected. All right, now I'm going to hand it off to Monica, where she is going to take us into strategies for bias detection and mitigation.
Thank you, Lisa. So now that we have talked about some of the negative impact of bias in the society, let me look into the strategies for bias detection and mitigation. So first of all, the first strategy that I would like to discuss with you is sourcing your training data broadly and responsibly. So your GenAI workloads are going to train on data sets that you're going to provide, So you want to ensure that it is representative of different demographic groups, like age groups, gender, or different ethnicities, as well as different nationalities. And you can achieve that in few ways. So for example, you can involve a subject matter expert who's going to look into the data and see whether it is narrow or skewed. You can also ensure that you include data from different sources, for example, from non-English language context, to ensure that you mitigate the cultural bias out of your data. But you can also use like automated services to look into the data quality to ensure that there is like no imbalance within your data. So we're going to look into the SageMaker Data Wrangler and how it can help you with achieving that. The second the second strategy is the interdisciplinary collaboration. So whenever you're designing or you're developing or deploying your GenAI workloads to production, you want to ensure that you're going to involve people with different specializations. So not only people from machine learning background or data scientists, but also, for example, people from cybersecurity background like myself, who can actually conduct threat modeling during the design phase, so they can actually detect any kind of security risks early in the stage and then mitigate that to ensure that the malicious actor can't exploit it. Also, people from social sciences background like ethics and law are especially crucial when creating the AI governance strategy for your organization. The AI governance strategy would dictate how your organization can actually use the GenAI tooling and in what kind of use cases the GenAI tooling should be used and when it should not be used. The first strategy is conducting model evaluation. So once you're happy with your training data and you train your model, you want to actually evaluate your model within the test environment before you move it to production. So we're going to look into the SageMaker Data Wrangler, the SageMaker Clarify, and how it can help you with the model evaluation and understanding the model. And then last but not least, filtering the output to mitigate discriminatory and biased context. So you want to ensure that your application is safe and inclusive, and you're going to include inclusive language. And we're going to look into how you can use Amazon Bedrock guardrails to achieve that. So first of all, SageMaker Data Wrangler. With SageMaker Data Wrangler, you can understand your data, so you can visualize it based on different feature attributes like age or like ethnicity, geolocation, and see like whether there are any kind of imbalances between different groups. And some of the data transformations that are available through SageMaker Data Wrangler are the balancing operators. So the balancing operators that are available through SageMaker Data Wrangler are oversampling, undersampling, and the synthetic minority oversampling technique, in short, SMOT. So in terms of the oversampling, when you have a minority and majority group, you want to ensure that in the minority group, random data points are going to be chosen by the service to actually duplicate it to ensure that there's more data points to like balance out the number of the data points between the minority and majority group. On the other hand, the undersampling is when you look into the minority group and the SageMaker Data Wrangler is going to choose the random data points to remove them from the majority group to ensure that majority group is not a majority group anymore. And then the synthetic minority oversampling technique is when the SageMaker Data Wrangler chooses the data points from the minority group and calculates the weighted average of those points to add them to the minority group. So once you're happy with your data, training data, you can start training your model on that. And then SageMaker Clarify can help you with understanding the model and detecting the bias. So it also uses the Amazon SageMaker Data Wrangler to evaluate your data sets. But once you already train your model, you can evaluate the model either using the automated evaluation or the human evaluation. So what is also powerful about the SageMaker Clarify, that once you do the model evaluation, it also outputs the reports, so you can also have more visibility into like how your model performs in terms of the bias, so that different stakeholders can see whether there's like anything that needs to be fine-tuned. So in terms of the human evaluation and the automated evaluation, you're going to have different metrics that are available to evaluate your model. So for example, there's like accuracy, factual correctness, bias, or stereotyping. And then in terms of like the human evaluation, you can involve the subject matter expert who is actually going to evaluate your model based on those metrics. So for example, they can rate it from like 1 to 5, or you can give them the option to rate the response, giving the thumbs up or thumbs down. Or you can also give them the option to choose like a best answer from the possible responses. In terms of the automated evaluation, the Amazon SageMaker Clarify uses the open source framework called FMEval, so Foundational Model Evaluation, to actually automatically evaluate it against those model dimensions. And then it's going to output the report. And in terms of the bias, it's going to calculate the probability of the bias being included within the responses generated by the GenAI workload. And once you train your model and then you fine-tune it, you're going to move it to production. And in production, you also want to ensure that you're actually going to monitor your model for any kind of divergence in the bias, because your production model might be training on a different data. So to do so, SageMaker Clarify also leverages Amazon SageMaker Model Monitor to actually alert you about any kind of bias detected within production systems. So you can actually like go and look into the model and see like why it actually outputs any kind of bias output. And last but not least, Amazon Bedrock Guardrails. So Amazon Bedrock Guardrails is your kind of like last line of defense. You can set up different guardrails, preventative controls, based on the AI governance strategy that you have set up for your organization. So for example, you can include what kind of topics should be denied. You can also set up the word filter to ensure that your language is inclusive. And you can also set up the content filter as well as the PII reduction to ensure that sensitive data is not going to be output by your GenAI workload. And once you set up those preventative controls, the guardrails are going to evaluate your user input as well as the foundational model output to check whether the responses from that foundational model are violating any of those guardrails. Cool. So now that we have talked about some of those strategies, we have prepared with Lisa for you some of the QR codes that can help you with starting with those services. So first of all, Amazon SageMaker Data Wrangler that can help you with looking into the data quality as well as the how you can remove the imbalance in your data. SageMaker Clarify, which can give you the model explainability as well as ensuring that your model is fair. And then Amazon Bedrock Guardrails, which provides you with the preventative controls to ensure that your model is safe and fair. Thank you so much for joining our talk. We also have our LinkedIn links to our profile, so if you'd like to discuss with us a little bit more about this topic, feel free to reach out. We're also going to be here available behind the stage, so if you have any questions, let us know. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Monica.